this is, I think, Dr. Scott, it's probably the first time in about 8 years you've taught your system on how to get regenerative medicine patients, the one-to-many system, the seminar sales system, and then we're super excited because, as I was talking to Dr. Bryan yesterday, the 2026 just allows so many cool things that you could be doing to have a slight edge with social media, with marketing, with advertising. And Ron and I were speaking last night. Ron is one of Scott's secret weapons. I'll let Scott explain that. How in a day and age where social media and the mass amount of content being poured on our prospects, on people who are just consuming information is so vast and so much that, and you don't have to be 100% better to be completely dominant. You could just be 10% better, but doing the 10% that makes the biggest difference. And what does that mean in an AI, social media, trust-efficient economy? That means getting nose-to-nose, toes-to-toes with the people that are most likely to buy, who would never come into your clinic. And one thing I'll talk about later, but I think it's so important about the mastering the leverage with the power of workshops, seminars, lunch and learns, dinner seminars, is that for every minute you spend in a lunch and learn with a group of patients, you're saving tens of even hundreds of hours that you'd have to have in your clinic to an unqualified patient. So just think about that, okay? Now we have the guys from Platinum Biologics, just wave right now. Scott will do a more formal intro. Yeah, you can clap too, it's all positive here. And then we have some of our new boardroom members. I know, new boardroom member? Yep, new boardroom member, right? Yeah. You didn't even know what you bought last night, Jeff. Jeff's like, I just bought something, I added it to my first seminar, and we're having the best month ever, correct? Okay, cool. I'll just keep putting words in your mouth the rest of the day, and then but we'll hear more from Jeff a little bit later. So that's it of me. I'll be back up later. Let's give it up for Dr. Scott Gray, everybody.
All right, guys, so grab your binders there, and when you open it up, obviously you've got the key takeaways in the front there. That first page is just to jot down things as you think of something you want to implement or something that you want to do. Because here's one of the big issues with seminars. You guys are going to get fire hosed today. You are going to get a ton of information, and it's really hard to go back and then try to figure out, like, what do I want to implement? What do I want to do? So try to think of key takeaways, all right? You're going to have another sheet in here. The ideas from today after that first tab. So as you come up with ideas, what I want you to do is just jot it down real quick. That way you're not thinking about it, how am I going to do that? Because when you start doing that, you're missing everything else that I'm saying during that time, okay? So jot the idea down fast and think of what priority it's going to be. Then you can go back and talk about when you're going to start it, once you get all those ideas down, okay? Like, we had this, trying to think if Ed knows this guy. There was a guy that was famous for, he would come to seminars, like a 2-day seminar, and when he got the idea that he felt like was going to change everything, he just left. So, like, sometimes he was there for 20 minutes, and he would just get up, take all his stuff, and he was out of there. Because he's like, I'm going to go implement this thing, right? But this way, you can just put down all your ideas and make sure you keep that so you can continue to pay attention and stay focused on what's going on. Okay? And that's really the biggest thing. What I want you to do, let's go to, we'll get into this stuff as we go, but let's go to the third tab. And what I want you to do, go to page 17. Page 17, there's a practice scorecard there. And what I want you to do real quick before we start, go to the very top area, lead generation. And I want you to give yourself a score of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst. How good is your lead generation right now for your practice? Okay, so score yourself, be honest. We don't get anything good by lying about our numbers or anything like that. Let's be honest, let's put in the lead generation. Then go to consult conversion, rate yourself on that. Then I want you to go down to presentation effectiveness, rate yourself on that. And then follow-up process, and that would be, that follow-up process is after a lead comes in. How's your follow-up process once a lead comes into your office? What does that look like? And that's gonna make way more sense here in a second as we start to jump into this. Seminar sales success. So we've done this for several years. I've done talks since 2004, 2003, 2004. Obviously more recently been in the REGEN space. So we've learned a lot. And we have teams out there that are doing this every week, about 150 talks a week, okay? So we've got some experience in what we do, all right? So what you're seeing today, none of this is theory, none of this is it might work, this is what we do, okay? So you guys are gonna see exactly what it is. All right, you guys have all met Maggie, you know Maggie. She runs this ship, she's the reason this whole thing came together. And she's the head of operations for REGEN Profits, and she's so helpful with all of our boardroom members, and when you guys have questions, I mean, it's like she's right back at you and takes care of everyone on the team and everything. So Maggie's the one in charge of this whole thing. Ed, he's our head of marketing. You're gonna get to know him a little bit more. I've known Ed, what's up, Jim? I've known Ed for, I don't know, 15, 20 years, whatever it may be, just in the marketing world. He had another company called Dentist Profits, where he helped dentists do high case value like implants and things like that. And so he helps run all the marketing. So a lot of what our doctors are getting is from the brain of that guy and just the expertise that he has. And you guys are gonna love, he's gonna go over the ethical propaganda machine today, which you will love, and also the interview method, which Dr. Roadhouse did yesterday as well. Raj Gupta, he's getting here a little bit later. Functional medicine expert, Dr. Sikora, we were talking about that last night, but Raj is here. If you guys do functional medicine, he's just a wealth of information. I just invited him here. His daughter goes to the University of Tampa down here, so he was coming tomorrow. I'm like, dude, just come early and meet everybody. So Raj will be here, awesome dude. Ron Silver. So, like I said, we go around and we do a lot of seminars every week. Well, what do we need to have to do seminars? We need presenters. We call them our CEOs, our Chief Education Officers. And so I met a gentleman, I don't know when this was, probably like, what, 2 years ago, maybe we started doing this. And he had built and sold a software company in like Silicon Valley. And he was telling me about it, and he's like, yeah, I had this secret weapon that nobody knew about, and I had this guy hire all my sales guys, and he's like, 95% of them were killers. And I'm like, really? Does he still do that? And you know, can I talk to him? So I met Ron, and Ron and I have worked over the last couple years putting together profiles of all of our best salespeople. And so now what we do is he hires all of our salespeople. So it takes about 200 to 300 applicants to get one killer salesperson. And so Ron does that for us, and that's an extension of what we do with REGEN Profits. If doctors want to get that leverage, and I'll talk about all of that in detail in a second, but Ron's our guy that helps people find sales folks. So Brendan is in the back there. He's VP of our operations for our medical teams that go around and do a lot of the treatments. We have a lot of nurse practitioners, medical doctors and stuff that help with all the treatments. So he runs that and a lot of other things that we do. And then we've got Matt and Bryant in the back, and also Steven with Platinum Biologics. So it was about 3 years ago. Steven is my business partner, and we do everything together. And about 3 years ago, February of 23, we were sitting there and we're like, we ordered a lot of stem cells. We're always every lab's biggest buyer of stem cells with our company. And we said, we need to do our own, have quality control, be able to make sure that like we know exactly what we're getting, et cetera, et cetera. And so we started Platinum 3 years ago, and we've just taken off, and we've got the IRB now approved that we're going to be doing. Like, a lot of exciting stuff with Platinum, but they are the ones to talk to about product and all that good stuff. So they're here, and they gave you a binder as well with all the info and the products and stuff that we do. So let's get into the good stuff, guys. All right, so what do we want to accomplish today? We're going to show you the best way you can grow your business to quickly get that maximum ROI for all the marketing that you do. We're going to give you the tools and nuance you need to create lasting systems in your business to scale. You'll see why that's important in a few minutes. We're going to show you Ed's ethical propaganda machine that creates celebrity authority and credibility in your marketplace, which is very, very important this day and age. Very important. I never talked about that stuff in 2018, 2019. This is a new thing that's important. So we're going to share insider tips on what really creates scalable, powerful systems. We're going to talk about next steps for launching your sales and marketing systems in your office and with your team. All right. Anyone ever seen this guy before? The stick man. So this was actually invented by a chiropractor several years ago, probably like 100 years ago. But what this is all about is, where do our results come from? Where do our results start? And one of the things that I always go over this at the beginning of a talk, because when you go to a seminar, especially if it's someone you don't know, you can sit there and say, oh, what's this guy all about? I don't know if I'm going to believe everything he says. You know, I'm a little sketchy about this guy, you know, whatever it may be. Or you might, as information comes in, I tried that didn't work, right? Oh, that'll never work. And what happens is, when thoughts come into our mind, they come into our conscious mind. And we have to decide if that's a good thought or a bad thought. No thought that comes into your mind is good or bad on its own. We make it so, right? So if someone comes to me and says, you know, I want to help you do more cash in your office and, you know, get away from insurance, like, I thought that was an exciting thing. Or some people will be like, oh no, I could never get rid of my insurance and I can't do that. But it's the same message, but there's going to be a different result at the end. Because when the message comes in, you get to decide if this is good or this is bad. And then what that does is that starts to create vibrations in your body, energy, right? And then that creates action. So one of the things my mentor told me is, he said, Scott, you can tell me all day you have a good attitude and that you're doing things the right way, but if I don't see it in your results, something's screwed up here. Something's wrong here. So if you're not getting the results that you want, you have to go back and say, what am I ignoring? What am I saying no to? Why am I not getting the result that other people are getting, right? And so what I just want to encourage you to do today is try to find ways to open up your mind to say, yes, I'll try that. Yes, I think that might work. Didn't work in the past. I'm going to see how it's going to work, right? I'm going to go all in, because I want to be all in with you guys here today, and I want you guys to be all in as well, and just focus on, how could that work for me? Not will that work, how could I make that work for me, okay? So always be thinking that, and that's when you get your ideas and you jot that idea down, right? I know exactly how I'm going to use that, put that down. So, but this is going to be with our goals and everything that we do. How we think about things determines our success. And it's like with Steven, you know, we are business partners in everything we do. He comes up with ideas that, like, I never would have thought of, right? And then, but he has a high ceiling of what's possible, and sometimes he's raising my ceiling to, like, dude, we could do this. We could start Platinum Biologics, right? We could grow this thing. I never would have done that without him. But that was just a thought in my mind telling myself I couldn't do it, right? We're always telling ourselves a story of why we can't do something. There's a book called Mastery where, I forget Tim's last name, but what is it? Tim Herron, yes. He says every time you want to go and do something big in your life, there's going to be an inner voice. He calls it the radio voice. And it's going to say, you can't do that. What if it all goes wrong? What if you lose everything? What if this? What if that? So what starts happening is the action never gets taken, and then you don't get the result. But you don't realize you did all these things in your head ahead of time, right? And you're telling yourself why you can't do it, and you're telling yourself every story of why it's not gonna work. So open your minds today. Know that what I'm teaching you is gonna work, and I want you to figure out how it makes sense in your practice to use it so that it works for you guys. All right, so we wanna think like an owner. And this is one of the hard, like Jeff, we were talking about this. My life changed when I read these two books a long time ago. Cash Flow Quadrant from the Rich Dad guy, and we've got the E-Myth. There was a chiropractor edition of it. But so E-Myth is the entrepreneurial myth. Who's read that? Anyone in here read that book? Yeah, a lot of you have. So we know that everyone says they're an entrepreneur if they have a business. But you're not an entrepreneur if you have a business, because an entrepreneur is someone that has freedom, right? They're able to grow things with scale. And when you have an office, like if you don't show up, is it gonna keep going? It's not, right? So what happens is, well, how he explains it over here, Robert Kiyosaki, on the left-hand side, there's a lot of employees in the world, there's a lot of self-employed in the world, but you're stuck over here. You have to be there. You have to be working in that business every day, or no revenue comes in, the staff doesn't know what they're doing, you know, right? You gotta be there. But over here, you've got business owner and investor. So how do you become a business owner and an investor? And I'm not saying you have to stop seeing patients, but what I am gonna encourage you to do is focus a little bit more on growing your practice and being a business owner. Do you ever step back and look at your practice and look at your financials like an investor? Would you hire yourself as the CEO if they saw your financial reports? Or would they fire you as the CEO if they saw your financial reports, right? Look at your business like an investor and start to think of it that way. But we're gonna talk about thinking like an owner, because that's when you're gonna get to leverage your business and scale, right? When I talk about, you know, my first licensee group that did this program that we're gonna talk about, they do between $2 and $3 million a month, okay, with this program, all right? Because we think like owners, and we think about leverage and how do we do more, but doing less to create more. Steven? Almost 4 million last month. There we go. That works out. All right, so the owner mindset, this thing changed my mind. In October of 2015, I went to a seminar, which actually Ed was at as well, but our buddy Vinny Fisher told me, he said, Scott, in order to grow your business, you gotta be okay with the 70% version of yourself. You've gotta stop thinking you have to do everything, right? And at that point, I was adjusting all the patients as a chiropractor, right? So I'm a decision maker. When I think of something, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do it. So I went back and I told my staff, I'm not seeing patients anymore. So I had an associate, and it took me about 2 months, and I've never seen a patient since. So since 2015, I've not had to adjust patients, see patients, but it's just because I realized if I'm gonna grow something big, I can't be adjusting 300 people a week, or Will just told me him and his wife did 900 adjustments in their biggest week. That's insane. I can't imagine that, 900. But, love it. So, and actually, that don't shouldn't be there. You know, we can lie to ourselves and say, the practice needs me, I need to do this, I can't leave. And Jeff, we were talking, I said something on the boardroom call the other day. Something hit me one time. I was seeing patients, and it was so hard to break away, and you know, the patients tell you, I love you, you're the best, we don't know what we would do without you, Dr. Scott, no one else can adjust like you adjust, da-da-da-da-da. It's all crap. It's all lies, okay? They don't know they're lying, but they are. Because what happened was that family came back to me, you know, a couple weeks later, like, Dr. Scott, we have great news. And I'm like, awesome, tell me, what is it? They said, we're moving to South Carolina. I'm like, that's awesome. They said, hey, can you recommend a chiropractor for me in South Carolina? I was like, yeah, sure. And then like I was thinking about it later, I'm like, why am I not pursuing my goals and dreams? Because I think that they really care about me. They're going to go on with their lives and do what they want to do with their lives. Don't let this keep you small, right? We're not as important as we think we are, at least in that sense, right? So be okay with the 70% version of yourself. Start to think about, how do I replace myself doing this? How do I replace myself doing this? Then you can continue to grow. So the philosophy of leverage. We're going to talk a lot about leverage. So it's basically compacting time and money, because what we want to do is do the least amount that makes the biggest difference. Everyone know the Pareto principle? Everyone know that? So 80-20, right? So 80% of our results come from 20% of what we do. But a lot of people don't realize that that chunks down further and further and further. So you'll get to where 51% of your results come from 1% of what you do, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk to you today about those 1% activities so that you can do less and create bigger results. That's what this seminar is all about. Do less, create bigger results. So small inputs, outsized results, and the discipline, finding force multipliers. What are the force multipliers in your business? Do you know what, like if you went back and spent all your time next week doing something, that your revenue is going to double? What's that force multiplier, right? We're going to get into what those are. We're going to talk about systems, processes, positioning with the ethical propaganda machine, pricing we're going to talk about. Dr. Skor, we talked about the pricing thing last night, which I'll share that story a little bit later. But leverage is the difference between effort and scale. Progress compounds instead of stalls, okay? Most people are busy. They are doing stuff over and over. They don't have time for anything, yet their business isn't growing. What are we doing? What are we busy with? It's not the force multipliers. So we're going to talk about what force multipliers are in our business. So this is my favorite business guy. This is actually a movie I produced on Walt Disney. I just found out we're going to be on Disney Plus pretty soon, so just got that text a couple weeks ago. But what I love about Walt is just how he grew his business. And he had owner's mindset, totally. Force multipliers, that's all he did. So this was a quote out of one of his books. He said, I was stumped today when a little boy asked, "Do you draw Mickey Mouse?" Had to admit, nope, don't draw anymore. Well, do you think of all the jokes, the ideas, the scripts? You do all that? Nope, don't do that. Finally looked at me and, "What in the world do you do?" And he said, "I think of myself as a little bee. I go around from one area of the studio to the other, just gather pollen, stimulate everyone," right? So he realized he can't be in the day-to-day doing all this stuff. I've gotten to talk with a lot of people that worked with Walt, and his granddaughter is a friend of mine, and they said that he never told anybody what to do. He would just come in. He hired great people. He had A++ employees, which is a force multiplier, your team. And he would just go into them when they were designing the monorail. He would just come in, "Hey, Bob, how's the monorail looking this week?" Bob Gurr. "Oh, it's good, Walt. We did this, and we added this, and blah, blah, blah. What if the window came down a little bit here, and the fuselage did this, and what if that? Think you could do that?" And no one ever said no, even if they're thinking like, "No, we can't." They never told him no. But like, "Yeah, we can do that, Walt." "All right, be back next week." And he just went around with ideas and making sure everyone's making progress, accountability, right? So Walt was the ultimate. He built such a crazy machine. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. Anyone ever seen this before? This is the Disney business model. Walt drew this in 1957, okay? Because they started with movies. But then what did he do? He started merchandise licensing. He brought in this guy named Kay Kamen. And all of a sudden, he took Mickey Mouse. He was on every watch. He was a plush toy. He was blah, 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 right? So he would go around. Let's do the merchandising. He did Disneyland, comic strips. This is a little more easy way to see it. But you could never do this. What if he was making all the movies? What if he was writing all the scripts? What if he was still doing Mickey Mouse's voice? None of this would have happened. There'd be no scale. There'd be no leverage at all, right? So companies that grow big like this have a leader that's focused on getting the right people in the right place, using leverage, force multipliers, so they can start new things and build around all of it and make it work together. So I'm really big in how do we do less? Everyone wants to be busy. You don't grow your business by doing more. Adding more is the worst daggone thing you can do to your business. I don't want you going home and saying, we're gonna do all of this now, and now you've got 5 more hours a week that you have to do this, and it's just making you more busy. Now, at first you may have to do that to replace some other things, but what we wanna do is subtract. We want focus, prioritization, delegation. What did I say about the team? You have great people, you're training them, right? You've done your work with them. Simplifying things. One of the things I'll get into, you can't scale complexity. A couple of us have been talking about neuropathy clinics and that kind of a thing, you know, and we were involved in those for a while, and it's like, it's so complex, very hard to scale. That's why regenerative medicine is so awesome, because it's so simple. It's just find the person, educate them, treat them, follow up. Where neuropathy is like a million appointments. Are you eating your food? Are you doing this? All that, right? So how do we simplify so that we can grow something really big, all right? So what I want you to focus on is, honestly, my mentor made me do this. He's like, write down everything you do for a week. Every single thing, and I want you to send it to me. That sucked. Because he's like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? He's like, Scott, you're wasting half your time. This is ridiculous. So what we have to do is look at what we're actually doing. Monitor your time for a week and see what you're doing. Did you spend, you know, some people are spending some time just scrolling some things at Facebook or Instagram or whatever when they're bored, but are we, I don't know, reading research that's not going to grow our business? Are we, you know, what are we doing in our time? So I want you to do that, because what I want you to leave here with is focus and simplification. How do I do more with less, okay? So how we do this is through systems, all right? Without systems, your business is chaos, okay? You cannot scale a business if you don't have systems in place. It's going to blow up. Systems create clarity and intention made permanent. So when you have systems in your office for this is how we do this is how we do this is our focus, your team knows. Everybody knows exactly what's going on and where you're going with the office. And with systems, you get growth and freedom. That's probably my biggest thing that I want to help doctors get is freedom. Because I don't want you to work more, I want you to work less, build a crazy office, and not have to be there if you don't want to. That's the idea. And that's what this system can do for you guys, okay? So, this is the system. This is my secret sauce, and there's a lot to this, but what I found is there was 4 things I had to focus on in my business. If I focused on these 4 things, my business was gonna grow, okay? So, because a lot of people in practice, we don't think as high as we should. Like my mentor, we talk about stage 1 through stage 5 businesses. Stage 1 you don't get out of until you have a gross margin of $20 million a year, okay? And the reason I say that is he says, up until then, all you need to be doing is focused on sales. That's it. Don't be building out organizational charts and all this other stuff, because what's gonna happen is, once you actually get up to 20 million gross margin, all your systems are gonna be different than what you're doing at 1 million. So you're gonna have to redo it anyway. You should be focused 100% on sales unless you're at 20 million gross margin. And then you start focusing on other parts. You don't get rid of the sales, you actually start adding other things, but we won't get into that. But this is the key to grow a practice and increase revenue. First of all is lead flow. Okay, so that's how we target our customers, how we pick our media, how we write our ads, test optimize, retarget. This is what marketing agencies do. Okay? Some are good, some are bad, some are great. Okay? But if you're hiring marketing agencies to grow your practice, there's a problem. If you don't have this, this, and this, It stops right there. Those don't turn into sales, or they turn into very few sales. Okay? So, okay, let's get this going to where we have great lead flow. That's why I had you guys write down where you rate yourself on lead flow. Okay? How good are you at getting leads in? Are you spending money? Are you doing YouTube? Are you, doing different things? Are you going out to events? What are you doing for that lead flow? Engagement. So the next thing is, and Jeff, we just had a success story with you with this. After they sign up, whether it's for your consult or for your dinner, what are you doing to make sure they show up? What was your typical show up rate before you did that? 50%, and then what's it been since you implemented? Think about that. Oh, yeah, so he typically would get about 50% of people to show up. You guys can probably relate to that. Some of you have done this. He's getting 100%. And I'm not saying it's going to be 100% every time, but if you can get 85 to 100%, you have twice as many people in front of you. So guess what? Those leads just got way more freaking valuable, right? So if we do this, now we do this right, okay, now they're sitting in front of us. Are we good in front of people? Are we good with the presentation? Are we talking about the right things? Are we saying the things they need to hear to change their mind? And I'm going to go into those specifically through the presentation today, and I'm going to show you what we do to do that. But think about this. Hey, you got 100% to show up. I bomb the presentation. Or I get up there and I talk about freaking research or something. Like, look at these stem cells and all the research on the stem cells and da-da-da. They fall asleep, they eat, they go home, and nothing happens, right? So, if you've got all that good, and that sucks, stops here. And then the last thing, consult in the office, financing, all those types of things. So, okay, maybe we're great at a presentation, but they come in the office and we can't, some people say you can't close the door, right? You can't do anything with them because you don't know how to work with people in a consultation to get them to the point where they're begging you for your service. I call it the 180-degree consult because you should not be selling anybody. You're disqualifying them. We're going to see if you can do this or not. If not, I'm sorry. If so, we'll figure out how to get it done for you. You want them chasing you. You're not going in there thinking you're trying to sell somebody. You're disqualifying them from care. Because if you did this right, they're sitting in front of you like, okay, I need to do this. How do I do this? What do I do? Well, I need to see if you qualify first, right? So, can you guys see if any one of these is broken? It just all shuts off. And so, it's why I do this. Because I was a marketing agency, and I was just giving people leads. And they're like, well, they were just all plate lickers. They didn't want to do anything. And it's like, dang it, I wish I was in that room and I could have talked to those people, But I realized I've got to teach all this stuff because you get these 4 things down. You just start doing more of it, and more of it, and more of it. And I use this, I apologize if you've heard me use this before, but the George Foreman grill is a perfect presentation. But Rick Cesari, the guy who did that infomercial, he said it bombed at first. Why? Because they were trying to tell people how great George Foreman was. He was a heavyweight champion. He was awesome and blah, blah. Nobody who was buying the George Foreman grill cared about his boxing history. Nobody at all. Eventually what they found, they could track an infomercial and they see when people bought, exactly what time. And they always bought when he was eating or cooking. So all they did is change the infomercial, and all they did was eat and cook the whole time, and they sold 120 million grills. 120 million grills. So that is a perfect presentation. That's the power of a perfect presentation leveraged on TV all the time. That's how you scale, right? But if this isn't right, then it just shuts off at the end. So what's the math? Let's look at the math on this. If you can get twice as many qualified leads, if you can get twice as many people to show up because you're doing the right engagement, Then you get twice the appointments because your presentation rocks. And you get twice the closes because you know what you're doing when they come in the room, in the office, right? 16x. So would you rather spend $5,000 to do a dinner and marketing to get 7,500 or 120? That's the difference, right? So I'm telling you guys, these are force multipliers. This is what will exponentially change your practice. This is where you can hockey stick it, right? I want to see a lot of hockey sticks after this seminar, all right? So, and sorry, I used AI for this, and I realize it's like they put this here twice. It's not perfect yet, but anyway. But create a predictable, sustainable sales system, right? This is what we did in 2019. So I had done stem cell for a while. I had, done a lot of this, and I was like, I need to figure out a way to leverage. And what I wanted to leverage was the presentation and the consult. And I'm like, I've learned a lot in sales. I feel like I'm pretty good. I can close people. But I was like, what if I got a professional salesperson to do this for me? What would that do? So I got a couple guys that had done seminars before, and we worked, Brendan was with us in that. We built this whole thing together for like October to January, October of 18 to January 2019. We got it all ready and we went to do it. So we got the sales team to deliver, filled the rooms, did the seminar, set the appointments, and we had the salesperson do the closing and the presentation. My goal was 60,000. I was like, if we could do 60,000 this week, that'd be great. Like on our first go out with these sales guys, these guys used to sell bathtubs. And I got them selling stem cells. I'm like, let's see how we can do this. First week, I'm like, holy crap. Like, this is good. And that's why guys do 4 million a month. Because they have the right people in place to do this. So 2019, our first year, we did 11 million. 2020, some crazy stuff happened in 2020, right? But we still did 10 million. The next year we did 10 million, and now it's up to what we're talking about here. You guys, this thing is so scalable. It is so scalable if you use the right focus multipliers and focus on the right things, okay? So, we're gonna get into presenting now. We're gonna start talking about sales and presenting and moving forward. Maggie, will you let me know when we're at like 10:15? Okay, we're gonna go till 10:30 on this first one, okay? So, gotta throw in more Disney stuff, right? So Disney, when they hire their employees, they talk about when they're out in front of people, it's called being on stage. They're always giving a performance. So what they are always focused on is from arrival to departure, you're the show. It's you, it's the cast member. Your energy, focus, demeanor shape the entire experience. All of it. It's you, right? So, preparation, you gotta master your content. You gotta rehearse relentlessly. This is one of the biggest things that has driven me crazy, where I'll give someone a talk and I'll be like, record the talk and send it to me. And they send it to me and I'm like, you cut out like 15 minutes of the talk and you're stumbling around. Like, did you practice at all? Like, would anyone say, I'm gonna go spend, and they do this, I'm gonna spend $5,000 to get people to a talk that I haven't practiced. They do it all the time. I don't want you guys to do it because I'm saying, like, what did I put my time into? When I wasn't seeing patients, I was studying my script. I was doing my presentation because I knew that 1 hour of that week determines my revenue next week. Like, that was what I had to focus on. I got my patients treated, but I was spending my time on how do I talk to someone. I was listening to like Zig Ziglar, like what do I do if they do this? And I was focused on force multipliers. And that's what we have to do in our practice is all the busy crap. There's gonna be stuff that comes up like, oh, this fire and this and that. Guys, stuff is gonna get dropped and you're gonna have to ignore things that you think are important. Because guess what? If you start doing all those other things and ignore this, no revenue again next week. Lost money on a seminar again next week. Like, We've got to focus on what's important. So when we're on stage, project confidence, maintain high energy, purposeful body language. Well, I'm going to get into all the body language stuff here in a second. But obviously, the confidence part comes with mastering your content, right? If you don't master your content, you're fumbling around and you look like a doofus up there, right? So, and they have to trust you. They will not trust you if you're fumbling around everywhere, right? Engagement, connect with the audience, make eye contact, active listen. So, and I'm going to get into like very specific stuff with this in a second. Professionalism, obviously, dress the part, be punctual, handle technical issues with grace, because guys, with seminars, something will go wrong every time. My microphone didn't work. It worked fine yesterday, right? The screen wasn't working early. Something's going to go wrong every single time. So just go, oh, no big deal. Cool, we'll figure that out. Because if you get upset or get upset with the staff, they're watching you and they're like, what is wrong with, what is she doing? What is he doing? Like, they're crazy, you know? So guys, all that stuff, a lot of people don't realize all of those things affect how many people sign up to come into your office. Like this, you are on show from the time the first person sees you, and you gotta be on point. So ensure the stage and room are inviting, distraction-free. Obviously, like closed doors, we teach people all that kind of stuff. But same thing, AI and its little double. Okay, so I do a lot of mental prep. Who in here has played sports at a high level? Yeah. When you play sports, are you just like coming in and like jumping in your shorts and running out and playing the game? Not at all. A lot of times I would share, have anyone ever seen Steph Curry's prep for a game? It's like an hour and a half. It's insanity. But by the time that game comes, he's on fire, right? And hence the three-pointers he hits. So we have to do mental prep before a seminar, before a consult. Like, are we dealing with all this crazy stuff in the office and then just jumping in there like, okay, hey, sorry I'm late, and like you're just a mess, right? I've done it. I did it back in the day, okay? But we have to mentally prep for all those things that we do. So with the seminar, focus on qualifying, not selling. You're only going in to see if they qualify, especially in your seminar. What are you doing? You're just trying to get them emotionally involved enough and to raise the pain enough and to show that you're the solution that they want to see if they qualify. You're really not even selling anything, right? So the presentation should be super easy, like no stress at all. Because if you do the presentation right, they're going to sign up and they're going to raise their hand and they're going to come in. You just want to see if they qualify. And it's the same thing when they come in the office. It's just like I was saying, don't think that you're selling them. You're just qualifying that patient, right? They're in your world. That's your office, and you know if you can help them or not, and you're going to make it happen. So avoid commission breath. So folks that go out that are a little too eager to sell, have you ever heard that? I mean, you guys have probably seen salespeople that are, and you think of the used car salesman, right? Or that kind of thing. If you don't rehearse right, if you're not comfortable with it, you're not going to make sales when you have commission breath. Positive connection. So this is kind of a weird thing. I learned this from a book on cold reading. So it's really interesting. This book, actually, Jim, you may know, Ed, Dave D. He's with the Kennedy World, but he told me about this book. And so he does like magic and psychic stuff and everything. And he's like, this is the book on how psychics do it. And I'm like, ooh, I want to read that. And one of the things that they do is before they go in, they're reciting in their mind, I like you, you like me, this is going to go very well. I like you, you like me, this is going to go very well. I like you, you like me, this is going to go very well. So they're getting affirmation in their head that like, this is good. You guys ever gone to a seminar and thought, I wonder if they're going to like me, I wonder if anyone's going to sign up, radio voice, we're going to do something big and grow our practice, but we've got all this self-talk telling us that, what if it doesn't work? What if no one signs up? What if the food doesn't come out on time? And if you're thinking that, your presentation is not going to work, right? So I run this stuff in my head. I like you, you like me. And I always did this with consults. Og Mandino's book, Greatest Salesman in the World, he goes through the 10 scrolls, but the first scroll is all about love. And so with that one, I would say, I greet this day with love in my heart. And then he goes on to this whole thing of, when I do that, everything else follows. And how my eyes look, how I'm connecting with that person, gestures I do, tone of my voice. If I am in there saying like, I love this person, I need to take care of this person, I'm gonna do what's right for this person. And I'm gonna stay in the life raft and make sure they get this if they qualify and I know that they want this, right? So I love this person, I care for this. This might sound crazy, guys, but crazy people do crazy things. And I'm talking about results. I'm talking about all that conscious, subconscious stuff. This is how we do it. Because that voice is gonna come in. You're gonna go to the talk and you'll be like, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. Start doing this stuff in your head. I like you, you like me, this is gonna go well. This is gonna be awesome, we're gonna freaking kill it, right? And you're just telling yourself, amping yourself up. Most doctors are just running from the office, going in, doing a talk, and turns to crap, you know? So, mental prep, guys, if you're gonna be a killer at presentations, you've gotta have this in place. Okay, so, it is all about you. So, as the leaders of our business, if there's a problem in the business, whose fault is it? It's ours. It's 100% ours. And it's the same thing when we do consultations. It's the same thing when we do presentations. The room's not good or bad. They weren't all plate lickers. It's you. Anytime I don't sign someone up at a talk, I go back and say, what did I do? Or what did I not do? Did I leave something out? Like, 60% signed up last time and I had 30% this time. What is wrong with me? That's what we should be saying. But most people, especially when we were just doing a marketing agency, they were just there for the food. The room sucked. It was loud. Like, I think I put a video in here of one of the worst possible seminar scenarios that I had to do a while ago where everything just hit the fan, but I still signed a ton of people up because you just deal with it. You're there. I don't know if you guys have read the book called The Go-Getter. Have you heard that? It's this thing called the blue vase mentality. This guy basically said like, hey, you can get this job, but you gotta go get this blue vase. And it was like an impossible mission. But this dude was a nut, and he said, it shall be done, it shall be done, it shall be done. And this dude went through hell and high water, and he got the blue vase, got it back, and the guy's like, how did you get that? Because he didn't think he was gonna be able to do it. We need to have blue vase mentality. I don't care what happens in that seminar. I'm signing people up tonight, right? Like, you've got to go in there with, it shall be done. I had a buddy, we were doing seminars together. He was in Texas, and we had too many people show up. And this family was upset, and they were walking out. So he ran after them, and he's like, hey guys, like, I'm so sorry, like, can we buy you dinner, da-da-da? No, we're fine, we just wanted to see it. Hey, I'll send you a video of the seminar, and then they're like, okay, will you do that? Like, can we come into the office? They ended up buying. But guess what? Someone else might have said, yeah, we had pissed off patients, everyone was pissed. Or, pissed off people. Like, no, he ran after him, he got him. Blue vase mentality. I'm gonna make this work, and if it doesn't work, it's my fault, right? If we don't take that mentality, it's never gonna change. Never blame the room. Because you can blame the room every single time. And your bank account's gonna be small. You can't blame the room. It's like every girlfriend I meet, she's crazy and she's nuts, or every boyfriend I have, he's crazy, he's nuts. Like, there's one common denominator that we're not looking at here, right, that may be a problem. We gotta look at ourselves, look inward. How do I fix myself? So you control the room through words by 7%. Guys, what you say is not that important. It's gonna be your tone and your physiology. That's what gets people. You guys have seen all the examples of that. I'm not gonna go into that too much, but And I will go into some specific things in each one of those in just a minute. Because there is a lot of words, but a lot of it's tone, a lot of it's, most of it's physiology. You're gonna anchor the energy in that room. I mean, if I sat up here, hey guys, we're gonna talk about seminars today. Words are about 7%. Like, how great would that be, right? And there's so many people that don't realize it's all about your physiology. I could say the exact same thing with energy and excitement and passion, and they get excited about it. It's contagious. Smiles, energy, happiness. And guess what? They're not gonna buy if they're not happy and having a good time. They are not gonna buy. No, I wanna go home. Like, I wanna eat this food, I'm out of here, right? So physiology is huge, guys. And then the practice, like I said before, docs that don't practice and they spend all this money for seminars and then go bomb, it's crazy. But Michael Jordan didn't practice because he was the best because of how he practiced, right? Read Relentless, about him and Kobe and all those guys. They're crazy. You'll get better and better knowing exactly what to say, when to say it, how to say it. So, guys, when you do your first one, you're not going to be perfect. And some aren't going to go as well as others. Some of you are going to be like, I closed 100%. And then you go the next one, you do 40%. But you'll have your ups and downs. But if you bring your game, we always tell our sales guys, you might have a bad week here or there, you'll never have a bad month. Because sometimes something's just off, whatever it is, right? But you might have a bad week, but never a bad month, okay? So the seminar process, 30,000-foot view. You guys probably know this. This is just kind of like what we look for when we do seminars in the system. Just target the exact area with Facebook, direct mail, whatever we decide to do on that. Figure out how to invest more. So that's the thing. Once you have the presentation, you know you can close people, you just open the floodgates, right? So it's like, I don't want to be doing lead flow until I have the other three, because if I perfect the presentation and practice my butt off and I practice the consult and get crazy good at those, then I can go to a marketing agency and say, turn it on, bring them, let's go, right? Don't do lead flow before you can deal with the patients that are coming through in the way that you should. So, but once you have those down, you can just go as big and bad as you want. We get them to raise their hands with the ads, all that, and like really focused on getting the qualified right person. Because the ads and what we say in those are very important as to who shows up, okay? There's a lot of people doing ads out there that are not getting the right people to show up because they're just basically advertising a dinner versus what it's really about. And there's some other things there, but so we qualify them through messaging, give them a confirmation number, solidify, get people to show up, right? Getting the people, I had 100 leads, I would love for 70 to show up, right? But most people are getting 100 leads and having 10 show up because they're not doing that right. So this is one of the things that we do. We confirm what they want to eat. So what I do, and this is all in the system, but we put 3 things on the menu: a steak, a chicken, and a vegetarian, okay? And we say, hey, Kathy, and I think I have this up here, you've got the chicken, and your husband Jim has the steak, right? Excellent. Chef's gonna prepare that ahead of time, so we're gonna have that for you so everything's ready after the talk. Okay, great. Now they're making food for me. I gotta show up. You gotta be a real jerk to confirm, basically order food, and not show up when you're letting them know. Guys, nuance, right? It's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Sounds so simple, but nobody does it. And then they have low show rates, and right? So, and that's the kind of stuff that we figured all this stuff out. That's, it works. And the best number, we like 18 to 25. We don't like giant rooms. I've done rooms of 40, 50, etc. My phrase is, give me 50 people, and I'm gonna close 17. Give me 25 people, and I'm gonna close 17. When you get that many people, there's too many side conversations, there's too many distractions, people are huddled in there, so the number's important. So, pacing the sale too. The dating analogy, Obviously, you never go up to someone and meet someone and say, hey, I think we should get married. Like, you, just the way you look, like, let's just skip it all, let's go, right? That doesn't happen. The dinner is, you know, the reason we love the one-to-many is, first of all, you don't have to do as many consults because you're disqualifying them at the dinner. Like, please don't come in. If you don't have the money, if you don't have this, like, please don't come in, right? But the dinner is getting them to know, like, and trust you. It is the dating. This is getting it to where you get to go on a date, they decide if they like and trust you, and you decide if they qualify, and then I want you to get money for the appointment, okay? So get money because that changes the relationship. They're no longer a prospect. They have paid you money. They're now a paying customer. So it's way easier to get a big amount of money after a little bit amount of money. Way easier than no money exchanged before that. Changes the psychology. So, but the dinner is the date. It's getting them to know, like, and trust you and decide that you're the one that they want to see. So, it's not about you, but what you can do for them. This is in the talk, all right? So many people just want to talk about themselves. I'm so awesome, I did this, I did that, I'm a triple board certified, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's like, they don't care. They came because they saw something about how to get out of knee pain, right? So keep it focused on them. Don't talk too much about yourself or your office. You can tell stories about how you got into it. That's important, and I'll show you that in the talk later on today. But don't go crazy on the credentials and all that. All they care about is what you can do for them. That's what we have to focus on 100%. Your passion or for the service or product is what will develop your know, like, and trust with people. If you're scripted and boring, you will not be liked or trusted. They'll be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, what? Well, I'm not. Would you go see this guy? Like, what are they saying to each other? Like, what's going on up there? Because nobody's going to be more enthusiastic and have more passion for what you do than you. So you're not going to be able to go there and just be subpar, and they're going to be like, yeah, like, I want to do it. Like, you bring that. You are bringing the passion. You are bringing how excited you are about this. Now, that's easy when you first start doing stem cells. You know what it's hard? Seminar 50, seminar 60, seminar 80. But guys, it's the prep. I like them, I like you, like, let's go. Like, you have to bring, you're on show. That's it. That's game time. That's the Super Bowl. Your marketing is either going to multiply into a lot of money or it's going to disappear because you weren't feeling good that day. You let your emotions get in the way of what you're there to do, right? We can't do that. We got to bring the passion. You're there to express, not impress. So many doctors just want to impress. And one of the ways they do that is getting all freaking scientific. Is if there's one way to be boring, it's talk about the science. They don't want to hear about science. They're there to be entertained. Like, they're there for a meal. Let's do this. Let's have fun. Because people that are bored don't buy. Dan Kennedy said one time, he was asked, they said, hey, Dan, do you have to be funny in your seminars? It's like, no, not at all. But if you want to make money, you do. Right? And it's like, we have to have fun with them. We are there to have a conversation and go back and forth with everybody and have a good time. Like, we should be having a good time there. And we're expressing our passion for this and how it's helping people. I'm not impressing them with who I am, what I've done, blah, 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 blah. It is about them, and I'm expressing how much I love and care for them and what I want to do for them. So you just need to get them enough information with the right passion to get them to make a yes or no. That's all we're trying to do, guys. Even in the consult. You just want them to make a decision. Please tell me no if it's a no, right? And when you understand that, you can really start to dig down and say, you know, if they're kind of wishy-washy, let me think about it. Well, you know, I would guess you probably know right now whether you're going to do it or not. And I'd rather you just tell me no if you're not going to do it. But I would love to help you if you can. Just let me know what you want to do. You know? So and there's a little bit more nuance to that verbiage, but it's that type of idea. We're trying to get them to make a decision, even if it's a no. Yes or no, okay? This is not education for the sake of education. If you educate and they don't make a decision, you failed them and they get no relief. So like that was a thing that I thought about in my head all the time, is like, don't screw this up, Scott. What if one of them ends up on opioids and ruins their life and their family's life? Because I was emotionally distraught today and didn't want to bring my A game to the presentation, right? Am I going to practice my butt off so I'm a killer when I'm there? Am I going to work my butt off so that I don't fail these people, right? It's our responsibility. You've got this product and this service that you can help people with. Why don't we become the best version of ourselves to bring it to people? That's when people are going to come to you in mass quantities, is when you are that person, okay? So this is about, and I say this in business, I think we may have talked about this last night, it's not about what you do, it's about who you are. It's about who you become, right? So that mental stuff, the subconscious, the thoughts, the mind prep, all of that, this is about how hard are you willing to work to become the best version of yourself. Because your business will never outgrow your self-image, ever. So if you don't become someone that knows that you can do great things and you're going to help millions of people, if you're, oh, I'm just in this little town and no one's going to come and they just want to use their insurance and they want to do, like, your self-image is keeping you small. My self-image kept me small for years. I had my chiropractic practice for 13 years. It took me a while. A little dumb, a little slow sometimes. But finally, once I figured it out and stepped up to become the best version of myself, that's when things started to change. So you guys, you're going to hear this a lot. All of this comes back to us. It's that mind thing is it's our inner edge. And you either create that inner edge through these things and this practice and this mind prep and become the best possible version, or you decide not to do it. And you let tons of people walk out and go do their opiates or their surgeries or whatever they do, right? So, and that's how serious I take it. And if you can take it that serious and challenge yourself that that's what's happening if you don't bring it that night, that's the problem. So, and that it'll make you way better. So, how people make decisions. People are going to identify their issue, what's wrong, gather information, identify alternatives, weigh all the evidence, look at all the research, choose among, like, what are all the different alternatives. Then they're going to take action. They always take action. And then they're going to review their decision. Nope. Not at all. That is not how this works, okay? People are emotional. We've all heard that people buy an emotion and back it up with logic, but we don't take it to heart, right? The mental state of the room is huge. And that all, again, comes from us. We have to get them in an open, where they feel open with you. Do you want the guy that's sitting there like this, totally closed off? Or are people sitting forward and looking at you and listening to you, right? Are they open to you? Because if they're like this, I don't care how good you are. If you can't get them to come forward and really get interested, it doesn't work out well. So, I'm listening, active listening. So, one of the things that you do, let's say you go around. Who in here has back pain? So, what kind of back pain do you have? Like, oh, I've got sciatica and da-da-da. Okay, gotcha, thanks, Jim. Da-da-da, and move around. Later on, you're talking and you're like, remember when Jim said that he had sciatica? You have to prove that you are actively listening to them. You're sucking in the words they are using and repeating them and using them. You're showing them that you're listening to what they are saying and you care about what they're saying. You guys, that buys so much credibility in a room when you do that. And it makes it personal. You connect with that person. You think that person's going to come in like, wow, you remembered that? Crazy, okay? And you do that, but you also get, listen to this, when people start talking and you start repeating these words, guess what those words are? That's their word palette. Guess what we do in marketing? We use their word palette. I have a list of everything people have said, why they really do this, why they really get stem cells, not to get out of pain, not to avoid surgery. There's many other things that they're trying to do, and I am just sucking in their word palette. I would go back into my consultations, and I would listen to what they said, and I would write down, walk my dog around the block. You know, go to the store without sitting down. So I just built this whole vocabulary of people's word palette and what they do, and I say, do you have trouble walking around the store without sitting down? Do you wish you could just walk your dog around the block again? Well, guess what? That's what everyone's doing because they're telling us, and a lot of times we ignore it. So they've got to be entertained. They've got to have a good time, right? So make it fun, make it interactive. You get, people raising their hand and doing stuff, and I'll go through specific specific ways to do that. They got to be happy. If people are bored or mad at you, then it's not going to be good. And one of the ways that we do this is through our stories, because a lot of folks that give presentations, they like to talk about how bad the medical thing is, and like pills are bad and that's bad and da-da-da, and they're sitting there like, my doctor's done this for me for years, and they're just like, what are you talking about? And then all of a sudden they're closed off. You got to use stories to sell, right? You've got to use stories because that's how we're going to change the paradigm, and I'll show you those stories this afternoon. So they got to like you, right? They got to like you, and how do we do that? Go around the room and talk to people ahead of time, right? A lot of docs that I've worked with, they'll come in like right at the time, like da-da, and then they want to do their thing, they want to impress, and then they're gone. It's like, whoa, that guy was here and gone. He's okay, right? So be a person. Be a person. Show that you care. Show that you want to know what's going on in their life. That Dr. Sikora is going camping with her kids and Scout this weekend, right? Like, learn about people, care, and be interested. This is good for me. What I'm doing is not working. Again, that's going to go back into the stories, and we'll get into that. So the psychology of the room. So obviously, we use different things to get into the subconscious. Ed's a master at this, way more than I am. You guys have heard of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. Like, Ed's really good at the stage presence and all that cool stuff. But it's your physiology and your tone are the biggies. Those are really the things. Yeah. So you guys are going to be pumped for when Ed gets up there. That's right, yeah. Trying to beef him up a little bit there. All right, so then it comes into logic, conscious, emotional. We already talked about that. So you have to realize everyone's coming with their own belief pattern, right? They have their own belief pattern, perspectives, values, memories, and we've got to figure out a way to change those over to ours, right? In the psychology, if we don't understand that all of these specific thoughts are out there and these innate reactions that they're going to have, you don't know how to plan to avoid them, right? And so our talk is built to address all of these so that we can change belief systems and values and all that as we go through in a fun way where they don't even know it's happening and they're deciding all of it on their own. We're not telling them anything. We're letting them decide and come up with, I need to do this stem cell thing. Everything else is stupid, right? That's what they should be saying at the end of the talk. But you never said that. You will never say that, right? So Again, we talked about no thought's good or bad on its own. We make that decision. So that's what I'm saying is think of when you're talking, it's going in their head and it's going through some filter that you have no clue what their background is and their beliefs and their values and everything. But we've just built a presentation in a way that we believe we've been able to get really all of those to be able to shift people over. So this is huge. I mean, the psychology of the room and what they're thinking is one of the most important things, because if you don't know that, you're just blabbing about whatever. Remember, this is like an interaction with people, and we're going back and forth and working with folks to kind of move them along this line from they come in, who is this guy? What's this company? You know, what's he doing? Is this stem cell thing even real? It's not, I heard it's not FDA approved and da-da-da. Like, they're coming in with all kinds of stuff. And that's why we go through the dating process of the presentation. So by the end of it, they're like, they know what they're talking about. This makes way more sense than what I've been doing, right? So if we're not aware of this and doing the right things, and the reason I say this is because when I show you stories later, like I was telling you about some doctors where I would give them the presentation, teach it to them, da-da-da, and then they take out 2 of the stories. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's the whole thing. That's what did all of this. So now they totally messed it up. They didn't get anyone to come in. So, all right, so we talked about this. I'm not going to go into this too much. I know. Oh, okay, we got to move here. Got 15 minutes. Words. Words are the worst, right? Have you ever text someone and you just get back, okay? You're like, are they mad at me? Are they happy? Are they cool with that? You know, words are the worst way to do anything. So tone is huge. Drawing in with tone, emphasizing with tone, up or down. I'll give you examples of that in my stories because tone is huge. And like what I do, I got this from Heroic Public Speaking, is these guys that teach you how to, they're actors, and they teach you how to present from stage. And they talked about the fact that when you use humor, all humor is not used to be funny. Humor is meant to pivot to something else. And so I'll get them laughing, right? It's like, we did that and it was crazy, right? But that's what always happens, isn't it? They're just like, yeah, people are trying to get better and they just feel like they're drowning, you know? Tonight we're going to talk about how you can get that life raft and get it back. Anyone want to hear that? Right? Yeah. So it's like all humor is used in a way it creates this huge dynamic and it just sucks them back in again, right? And they're like they're leaning forward at this point. You're getting the guy to uncross his arms at this point, right? I need to keep this close. Tone, right? This is just an example. We've all done these before, but like where you put the emphasis, right? I said he's running towards the finish line. I said he's running towards the finish line. I said he is running towards the finish line. I mean, same sentence, and it just keeps changing. Tone is so important, you guys, and we'll go through how to do that. A sigh, we had one guy that was selling, and he bombed. And it was a guy that normally did good. We're like, what happened? So we listened to it, and it was the craziest thing. Someone asked him a question at the end, and he goes, and that's just like sticking your middle finger up at the crowd, you know? Like, he lost everybody. He lost everybody with a sigh. Yep, you could just hear it. Like everything changed after it. It's crazy. So tone conveys emotion and intent, right? Think of all the different intents by where you put your tone. Physiology, I talked about NLP, deflate with your posture if you need to. Show confidence through movement, using the whole body to communicate. Anchor the energy. This is a fun place. We're going to have a good time, right? That's what people want. This is not a lecture. This is not an educational seminar. This is a party. and we're gonna have a good time. They're gonna learn something at the end. They're gonna want stem cells way more than they ever thought they were gonna want stem cells. So, physiology of the hands, right? People do different things, but you guys have probably seen the fingertip thing, right? People talk about it all the time, but it's true. This is a power pose. I learned it from Joe Navarro. He was like an FBI dude that would, body reader. He would read people's bodies. And like that is the power move. So it shows that you know what you're talking about and confident. Where if you're kind of like in a praying, I'm telling you, people do crazy stuff, you guys. Like, you never know what people are gonna do with their hands. But do this, learn this, get comfortable with it. When I first did this, I'm like, this feels so weird. But then I started doing it, it's like, yeah, I feel good with it, okay? Pointing versus open palm. So that's another thing. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed at Disney World, they actually point with 2 fingers. Now, some people say it's just because whenever Walt pointed, he had a cigarette in his hand. And so they just copied Walt. But they do say it's actually like offensive in some countries or something like that. But the open palm versus pointing. You had a great question. I'm not gonna do that. Jeff, what was that question that you had? Right? It changes everything, right? Never that. It's just natural though, like, what's your question, right? We're not doing that. Share that with me again, So, very big. It's welcoming, it's honest, right? I wanna hear what you're saying. I'm open to you, right? So, relax during questions, shows openness and confidence in handling inquiries. You're gonna get crazy questions. You're gonna get people in there trying to disrupt, and I'll talk about disruptors and how to deal with it. But, like, I had a guy one time that was like, this is all the other crap online. Like, I've bought so much crap online and it all sucks. And I'm like, you're right, it does all suck. I was like, but I wouldn't be up here giving you supplements online. What I've found is something that has the ability to change people's lives and has all over the world. So you're right that stuff is crap. But what we're talking about tonight is totally different. So, look, I understand where you are. I'd be ticked if I was you. I would be pissed off at all the stuff that I bought that didn't work. But if you just open up a little bit tonight and listen to me through the end, I want you to tell me at the end if it still sucks. Right? That guy bought stem cells. Okay? But you're gonna have those people, and it's all in how you deal with it. You can't get upset. It's like, you're right, man. Everything online does suck, Agree with them and move on. So, okay, bonding rapport. A lot of people talk about bonding rapport like at the beginning. Bonding rapport happens all the way through, starting when they see your ad or mail piece. This starts really early, because what are they gonna do? You're gonna have an RSV process. How professional is your staff? How prompt were they? How quick did they get back to them? How are they helping them? They look at your website. They're gonna go look at reviews. They're Googling you everywhere. So when they get something from you, they're researching you before they show up or RSVP. They're gonna find out exactly who you are and what you're all about. They're not gonna come out for someone that's not credible, right? So these things are very important. Your content online. What are you putting out online? Are you putting stuff out there like the ethical propaganda to where you are sharing with people what you do, how it works? Dr. Sikora, we were just talking about, you had a patient that school teacher went out of the country and spent $62,000 on stem cells, didn't realize Dr. Sikora did it, and could have done it for 10. Like, those are hard lessons to learn. Because we have to realize, and I was even saying it, like with this event, Ed sent out a text yesterday just to remind everybody and like, hey, come last minute if you want to make it. And I was so busy putting this stuff together. I was so busy in my business and doing my stuff, which this is a multiplier for me, but I was so busy I wasn't telling people what was going on. And so like a lot of times we miss that. Well, we don't promote ourselves because we're so busy doing stuff inside the business. And that's why this can be such a big focus multiplier, because if you put it all towards that 1 hour once a week is gonna get me $100,000 a month. How much time and effort would you put in there if that one presentation, 1 hour, is gonna make you $100,000 cash a month? Is it worth it to you? Do you wanna do the 7,500 off the 5,000, or you wanna do the 120,000 off the 5,000, right? So, they're gonna look at that, how the staff greets them at the restaurant. That's actually the restaurant staff and your staff if you have people there. We do a whole thing with the staff before anyone gets there. We're like prepping them. They are like, they're like my Maggie in a way. Like they're running the thing. Like they're my partner in that talk. And so we're working everything out ahead of time so we know exactly how this thing's gonna flow so there's no disruptions. One of the worst things ever is if you didn't communicate right and they come out with the food right in the middle of your talk. Done. Oops. Right? All that stuff is super important. And then welcome before the talk. That's going around talking to everybody. Right? Don't hide. Don't hide. Let them know you're a person. Let them know who you are. And just be yourself. And just ask them, hey, where do you work? Where are you from? Like try to find something. Like we were talking earlier and it's like, I went to Logan. You grew up in Chesterfield. I lived in a trailer in Chesterfield for a few years. But yeah, like I love finding stuff out that is the same with other people, right? It was just like this one guy was telling me he was at Disney and there's like, tens of thousands of people there. And he's getting off the elevator and he sees this dude with the same color or same shirt. And he's like, oh, and they're like, that's great, nice shirt. And they left. Later that day, they're both walking with their families, opposite ways, a totally different area, and they see each other. And they're like, oh! And he like looks at him, and like both the wives are like, who's that? Like, same shirt, that's it. Like, guys, it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be anything, and they become your buddy, right? So, this stuff, bonding rapport happens all the way through. Bonding rapport happens till you're off the show, till you're done, you're off the platform. So the welcome before, I'm gonna cram this stuff in pretty quick, guys, because I don't even know how many slides I have left. Welcome before the talk, shake hands, gather information. Matching and mirroring, that's the NLP stuff. And doing consults in the office. Your presence changes the environment. You are the thermostat. And I'm not talking about hot and cold. It's only gonna be as fun as you are. It's only gonna be as entertaining as you are. It's only gonna be like as energetic as you are. You bring the energy. That's all you. So never judge. They'll sniff it out. I think it was Tony Robbins that said you can never sell someone that you're judging. You can never sell someone that you're judging. Don't judge people. Don't, but they couldn't afford it. How many people have done that? We've all done it, right? And it was like, once I finally got over that, when I had a Medicaid person, what's that?
Sharing that story last night of the $75.
Oh, yeah. So Dr. Sikora was telling me she had a patient and she's discussing a shockwave treatment, and like she knows this lady is like could afford shockwave treatment, right? She's like, it's $75 per treatment, and she's like, I don't know, 75? Like that's kind of a lot. And so then they keep going, and I'll shorten it a little bit. Then she said, hey, we could do this other thing where we draw blood out and do this, That's $3,000. That sounds awesome, I'll do that. Okay, right? And like, what's our natural thing? If she's not gonna pay 75, what do I give her? Do I have anything that's 50? No. Give her the $3,000 package, because it wasn't about the money. It almost is never about the money. It's about the value. It's about what they want. It's their deep-seated why and what they want that you need to learn how to dig into and find. And once you find that, you're good to go. Money doesn't matter once you really find why they want to do something, right? Or why they need to do something, the pain if they don't do something, because, my daughter was diagnosed recently with type 1 diabetes. I don't care what it costs. I'll do whatever it takes for her to be healthy. I'll find money wherever to take care of her, right? If my parents had cancer, I would pay for whatever. If You guys, we find the money for things that we have to do and need to do. Like, next time someone says it's just too expensive, look, I understand, it is a large investment in your health. Problem is, it's probably going to be more expensive next year. It's going to be more expensive the following year. Healthcare is just going up. Is it probably going to be better or worse by then, right? What's the most expensive thing to do is just wait, right? You invest this now, and you're going to be good to go, right? So you're going to have to pay at some point. It's just a decision of when and how much, and right now it's probably going to be the cheapest time. Most affordable time. So anyway, okay. Questions asked, keeping it conversational, not a lecture. Like I was saying, like this is a conversation, but you're asking like, is this making sense? Does this make sense to you guys? Is it making sense? So like, and I love to talk to people that aren't paying attention. Or I'll come over and, if they're not paying attention, just like, you guys, I mean, isn't this wild? I'll touch them, right? Especially if they're on their phone. In a good way, on the shoulder, okay? So I'm gonna wake them up. I'm gonna let them know, like, we're there, right? And I'm doing this. And so one of the things I do with eye contact, you guys have probably noticed it, like, I like to stay like 5 or 10 seconds with each person, right? And just move around. If you do that, what happens is they feel like you're looking at them the whole time when you're just doing like 5 or 10 seconds at a time. That's all you gotta do. But if you're doing this and you never hold, you're never going to connect with anybody. You've got to go that 5 or 10 seconds to connect, okay? But you're always asking questions. If you say, who in here has back pain? And you guys just sit there like that, I'm going to, seriously, hey, you guys saw the flyer and you came here. So who has, by show of hands, just who has back pain, right? And you get them to do it. If you don't get them to engage at the beginning, you're screwed. They'll never engage the whole time, okay? So you got to let them know that, like, we're here to play together. We're going to have a good time. So, active listening we talked about, talking to the restaurant staff, your introduction. I don't know how many more slides I have. We probably need to, let's take a break, guys, and I'm going to figure out then what I'm going to do. Has it been valuable so far? Is it good? Okay. I got a lot more for you. But in 15 minutes, be back in your seats at 10:45, and Ed's going over ethical propaganda. You guys are going to love it. And awesome.